there's a really cool book. It's not on the bookshelves behind me, but it's called Why We Sleep. And I forget the author's name off the top of my head. But that was one of the more impactful books for me, because I'd run on like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night and just work. And, until I kind of crashed. And that book changed my mind a little bit, because it talked about the real importance of getting a consistent 6 or 7 hours of consistent sleep, and what it does to your performance if you're only, if you get 0 hours of sleep, your performance is just like you were intoxicated. If you only get 4 hours of sleep, if you do that over time, it actually ends up that tiredness, you have the same lack of reaction and thought process as you do as if you were partially intoxicated. And another part of the book talks about the potential of, like, we don't quite understand why we sleep, right? Like, not fully. And the chemical processes that happen while you sleep can actually, rinse your brain of those proteins in a way. And there's a theory that that's part of what can lead to Alzheimer's. So I've definitely changed as much as I can. I still have bad nights, but as much as I can, change how much I sleep. And so going back to what my dad was, I do think that was maybe a contributor to some of his, at least maybe he would have gotten it anyways, but maybe accelerated it for him. Yeah. Because he never really slept more than 3-4 hours. And, and he did it. That's just the life that he did. And he did it because that was hard work, and that's what he did to support his family. And that time that he put in, working those nights has been, transformational for my mom, because it was a union labor camp. They ended up enrolling him and getting some benefits, and that's been huge to my mom and her retirement, to get some of those benefits on the backside. So anyways, to answer your question in a very long way.
No, that's good. Yeah, I think that my dad was very similar in the work ethic side. It was constantly working, oftentimes multiple jobs, especially when he wasn't making enough in one job. It was always going to be jumping to another, 2-3 jobs, whatever it was. And, I get concerned now. I mean, he's retired, and thank God, and he's, enjoying his life right now, and golfs like 5 days a week. And, that's about, like, he calls me up and he's like, "Oh, you won't believe what happened on the course today." Like that's his life, which I love to hear. But it doesn't mean I always want to hear it, but I love to hear it, right? As you were saying, that the why we sleep thing is it, like, so I've sleep apnea, and one of the things I was reading about sleep apnea is that if you have sleep apnea and you're not doing something about it, can cause dementia later on in life. And I had no idea that was a thing, right? So, that's one of the things that I try to reiterate to folks now, if they're concerned that they have sleep apnea or something like that, or they're not sleeping well, like, get tested for it. If you wear the CPAP, I wear my CPAP every night. Like, it is phenomenal for me. Like, I wake up more refreshed. I feel better. Like, everything about it is better. And I didn't know that I slept crappy. Similarly, like when I had kind of going off some rails here, but I have GERD, right? So I take medication every daggum day for this acid reflux. And until I started taking the medication, I didn't know that I felt like crap. Right. I just took the medication, and then it slowly went away, and then I'd forget the medication and feel it again and be like, "Oh, this is that feeling I used to have every day. How do I live like this? This is ridiculous." Right. But it goes back to taking care of your health and making sure that, you're like, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I struggle sometimes with, I've had a few different surgeries. I've got bulging discs. I've got some issues that are going on. And it's like, I struggle sometimes playing with my kids, but I really want to be able to play with my grandkids. So what am I going to do now in my life to be able to prepare myself better to be able to play with my grandkids more? And I think that's what you're talking about with sleep is something that I struggle with and I need to work on more. But, that's one of those things that we definitely have to take care of our health to be able to push that. So I want, that said, I want to transition a little bit into the kids side of the house and kind of understand. You've got 2 boys. You said one's a freshman and one's a junior high. Tell me a little bit about what it's like having those 2 boys, right? My boys are 9 and 5, and my little girl is almost 9 months old. So we're still, fresh on the girl side of the house. But talk to me a little bit about what it's been like running businesses with kids. Like, do you integrate them at all in the business? What do they know about your businesses? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So, first of all, having kids, it's phenomenal. you don't know love until you have kids, I feel like, you know, and I respect people that decide not to have kids, but man, it just, you know, you think you love your spouse and then you have kids and you see those little eyes look at you and just, you know, there's just, it's spiritual, it's, you know, emotional, it's everything all in one, right? So, you know, I think one of the things I've enjoyed most about being a parent is just watching them grow and develop personalities and, you know, and see the traits, like what, you know, what traits do they have that they get from dad? What traits do they have that they get from mom, or what do they share? And so, yeah, they're everything. And like I said earlier, I think, you know, one of the things that, I'll forever owe gratitude to my wife for is just forcing me to be there and watch them and be home every night with them and tuck them in and be with them. And, so yeah, it's, you know, being a, you know, business owner and being an entrepreneur and kind of the convoluted path to becoming an entrepreneur, if you will. It's been challenging. Like there's been times when, you know, one or the other's been sacrificed a little bit, right? Like, you know, if it was, I had to take a business trip, you know, I've been really good about not doing those, but it happens. And you just wonder what you're missing, you know, like what, you know, I was lucky. I never missed anything that I think was, you know, substantial, right? Probably the worst thing I ever missed, made my wife the most upset, was we missed my younger kid is just incredibly intelligent. Just, I credit my wife for that too, because he didn't get it from me. Like just, he's a sixth grade. I'm going to brag about my kid a little bit. He's in sixth grade and he's in freshman advanced math. So he's triple advanced math.
Nice.
And he's acing it. Like just like he's getting 100% on all the exams and everything. Like just, it's amazing to watch him. And, you know, the one thing that I did, I missed like the meeting with the teachers to, you know, for him get placed in a triple advanced math. And it's like, and to me, it was just a meeting. Like it was a meeting with a teacher. Like sorry, I was going to be there. I was just a couple minutes late, like no big deal. And it really hurt my wife. Like, and maybe she'll be mad at me for telling the story, but, I took it for granted, right? I didn't realize, how, and it was probably, you know, maybe I could have cut the owner off that I was at the owner meeting. I could have cut him off 10 minutes sooner or something and made it perfectly fine. Right. And, you know, you don't think about the ramifications sometimes when you're doing it. And the entrepreneur life especially can really suck you into that stuff because
for sure
you're not a 9-to-5 employee. Right. So it's not like, I get paid either way. Like, screw this, I'll do it tomorrow. It's, if this doesn't get done, if I don't make this client happy, if I don't, you know, shake his hand, like I may not get the next deal from him, or he may be upset and not recommend me for the next job or whatever it is. Right. It doesn't matter. And, I think I struggle with this, but one of the tips that somebody, you know, told me, it seems obvious and easy to do, is you just be honest with people. Be like, I have a meeting for my kids. I have to go. I'm sorry. But this is really important. I hope you understand, and I'll be glad to call you as soon as the meeting's over. Right. And as easy it is for me to say that, it's really hard to do. It's hard. It's just a hard habit to form. So yeah, so it's not without struggles, right? And I hope the kids have not felt that. I mean, I was blessed enough, even though I wasn't a hockey player growing up, I managed to skate just well enough to get on the ice and pretend I know what I'm doing and help coach them for a while. And I really got into that and learned even more about the game of hockey and really devoted to being there for them and helping coach them. And I was blessed enough to have another head coach that brought me in to spend time on the bench and in the locker room with my kids. And that was just, I mean, I can't even describe that experience. Like that was just phenomenal. I loved every second of it. I never regret whatever business may have suffered to be there for every one of those games and practices and the weekends and just the time on the ice with them and the bonding time. And that was really cool. So those types of things have really become important. And so, you know, this Christmas I went out and I just bought a bunch of board games because we recently been having like some board game nights and I was just thinking like, hey, you know, it's just like sometimes it feels it feels cumbersome, right? It's like, I got so much to do, or I need to sleep, or whatever, and I got to go, but at the end of the day, those little things that you do are what the kids are going to remember more than like the laughs you have at, taking the time to play Monopoly Lithium or learn a new board game. Or we had this crazy, I forget what it's called, something unicorns, something like that. And it was the most complicated, like convoluted game ever, but I bought it. So I'm like, we're going to play it. We'll learn the rules and we're going to get through this game. And my wife and both my kids were like, what? Can we just quit and play something else? I'm like, no, we're going to finish what we started because we started it. And yeah, I hope we play it again because I actually thought it was kind of funny, but
that's funny.
so really just finding those little things where I can connect with them